We do want to get rid of the shonks, and I completely agree with many speakers that that is not the majority of the providers, and it certainly isn't the way I describe providers in my electorate of Macquarie. And in fact, I want to start by talking about what quality looks like. What a quality vocational education training organisation looking after the educational needs of international students, what that actually looks like. Because I see it in my community and have known it in my community for many, many years through the Torrens University Australia's Blue Mountains International Hotel Management School. And I want to describe this quality because it's streets away from the sorts of providers that this legislation will focus on. It's the #1 ranked hotel school in Oceania, based on the QS World University Rankings 2022 to 23. It offers a world-class education with really practical training and hands-on experience at Lura in the Blue Mountains. It's an undergraduate program, and as part of that program, students are actually required to reside on campus. So they live on campus, and all the accommodation and meal and recreational requirements are provided by the school. And when it's full, it's about 250 students there for around about a 2.5-year program, of which 12 months is actually in a paid placement, industry placement. This is the other part of overseas students in Australia. In local communities, they can play a really key role in helping to tackle the skills shortage, and that's certainly the case in the Blue Mountains tourism industry. And this school has been operating since 1991, and over that time it has developed very strong relationships with our local hotel sector, predominantly in the accommodation sector. But it also employs its own people. Around 100 staff are employed, and I'm told around 90% of them are locals from the Blue Mountains who live in the Blue Mountains and, thanks to the hotel school, work in the Blue Mountains, as well as at any time around between 40 and 60% of the local suppliers that are used are sourced in our local region. I want to give this picture to show what quality looks like as we discuss this quality and integrity bill. The General Manager of the Fairmont Resort, which is the largest hotel resort in the Blue Mountains, which I must add hosted the Blues ahead of the State of Origin match, and it was thanks to being accommodated at the Fairmont Resort that they were able to take in the fresh air of the Blue Mountains and deliver victory. So Charlie Young, the General Manager of the Fairmont, describes the business's reliance on the students from the Blue Mountains International Hotel Management School. He says they employ a lot of students while they're at the campus. They provide them with much-needed real-world experience in multiple departments as part of their curriculum during their required industry placement. And he said their brand is one of service excellence. That's what he sees in the students. He points out that finding qualified, engaged, positive and skilled employees is difficult. And he's talking about the Blue Mountains, where we really have quite a serious skills shortage in our hospitality industry. And I want people to keep in mind that tourism is our the prime part of our economic drive up there. We're talking about Blue Mountains World Heritage, the Three Sisters, all the bushwalks that surround it, plus all our amazing local businesses. And so tourism is absolutely key to our local economy staying alive and healthy. And what he says is that knowing we have a hospitality school around the corner with students eager to learn and test their skills and knowledge helps to reduce our employment challenges and reduces our staff turnover, enabling us to retain qualified, engaged employees. So I want people to have that picture when we think about this, Deputy Speaker, about this bill and what it aims to achieve, because this is the sort of quality provider we want overseas students to experience when they come to Australia. And I've been to many functions there over the years, talked to many of the students who take great pride in being able to cater to local events and to learn their craft. So that's why this legislation is here. It's targeting quality and integrity. And we are really committed to lifting the standards across the board. While I have been informed by my own experiences of quality training of overseas students, this is not standing in isolation, this piece of legislation, Deputy Speaker. It comes from evidence that has been captured by inquiries like the rapid review into the exploitation of Australians' visa system, what we call the Nixon Review, and the review of the migration system, which both brought really urgent integrity issues to our attention. It's also informed by the interim report last year of the Joint Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs, Defence and Trade, which was called Quality and Integrity, the Quest for Sustainable Growth, interim report into international education. Now, I'm a member of that committee and have been looking into these issues since we came to government in 2022. And there is no doubt that integrity is absolutely essential, but the evidence showed it is absent in certain circumstances and certain providers. So one of the issues this bill addresses is the activities of education agents and the way they interact with providers in Australia. We know there's a really important role for international education agents overseas to be helping students to navigate their move from another country to Australia, to help them identify the courses, the institutions that will help them. But what the reviews and the feedback from the sector and the story from students told us is that there is a problem and that there has been collusion, there's been unscrupulous practices between some agents and providers, and that is not good enough. That is not the way we want to start the experience for an overseas student coming to Australia. I mean, for a start, we know that when students come to Australia and have a good experience, that builds their love of Australia and their relationship with Australia for many years to come. One of the great benefits of having overseas students is that they come and experience what it is like to be in Australia. And we want that to be a positive experience. We don't want them to go home and in years to come, when they move into roles of responsibility, to not think well of Australia. We really want them to have the best possible experience. So our response to these concerns in this bill is to insert a definition of education agent, which is better at capturing their activities. And this is about strengthening the fit and proper requirement used by regulators to apply increased scrutiny to any cross-ownership of businesses, including those between an education agent and an education provider. There's also a definition of education agent commission, and that will really allow for complementary amendments to be made to our National Code of Practice for Providers of Education and Training to Overseas Students 2018, so that we ban commissions from being paid to education agents for onshore student transfers. So, technical things that will limit the ability for the wrong thing to happen. These are things the sector has asked for, and will certainly help address one of the issues that was revealed, and that is the poaching of students, newly arrived students, so they shift from their original course into a cheaper, more limited course at a different provider. And this bill is full of practical things that will ensure better experiences. As well as the fit and proper considerations, it does empower the Minister for Education to pause application to register providers or courses for the provision to overseas students if there are issues raised. And it gives greater access to agent performance data, including information on transfers and completions. A lack of data, without data, we can't really know what's going on. Under the bill, providers will have to deliver one or more courses to domestic students in Australia who are not overseas students for consecutive study periods totalling at least 2 years before they deliver courses to overseas students. And this is to deter those seeking to enter the sector purely for the purpose of facilitating migration outcomes or for trafficking people into bonded labour, because that is the seriousness of some of the concerns that have been raised and the examples that have been raised. The bill also prevents education providers using their business operations as a cover for fraudulent activity. Those who have not delivered courses to overseas students for a period of 12 consecutive months will have their registration automatically cancelled. And it also allows for providers being investigated for serious regulatory offences to be automatically suspended from enrolling new international students. So, Deputy Speaker, there are many other elements to this bill, but for me the primary focus, and what I'm so pleased to be here supporting, is the quality and integrity measures, which mean that we can be proud when we meet an international student studying in Australia. We can be proud to know that they are getting a quality education, one that is value for them, one that allows them to return to their home with a set of skills that is world-class. That's what it should be. And that's what this legislation will help us deliver as part of a range of measures that we have introduced since we've come to government. So I commend the bill to the House.